Good evening and welcome back to the Rory Talks Football channel. Welcome back to the Arsenal Transfer Room live. It is a Monday evening and we have plenty to talk about. It's been a while since we've gone live, to be honest, so wanted to catch up with you all. And we have today supposedly found out the price for Rodrygo if a deal was to happen there. We're going to talk about Sesko and Victor Gyokeres, the continued nonsense at this point that surrounds those two. A few extra pieces, Thomas Partey, Mohamed Kudus, Alexander Zenchenko. So we will get into that as well. But there are absolutely loads of you here already, which we love to see. Ethan Udall, Mark Leeds Gunner, Saka the Goat, AG, Anon, Vish, JP, Carter, Cy Walder, Jordan, Ryan Henderson, Hannah, Rob, Gianni, Pete, Logical Nonsense. It is good to see you all. And I hope you are all doing well. You went to Naples, going there in August. Cannot wait. I did indeed. Spent a few days in Naples. Well, only really like one day in Naples, one day in Pompeii, and going up Vesuvius, and a day in Sorrento. And I have to say, if you ever get the chance to go there, I would highly recommend it, especially from a football perspective. Naples, going up through the Spanish Quarter like the Maradona. I've never seen a city love football and love their team as much as Napoli. It's unbelievable. It's just everywhere. Like the light blue flags, they're just absolutely everywhere. So highly recommend that. Liam, thank you very, very much for the $1.99 super chat. Rodrygo at the carpet needs to happen. It does indeed need to happen. It does need to happen. And listen, I think it is possible. I really do. I think a lot of people, I mean, it's classic, right? Because it's Arsenal, there have been people that, for a while, they were in one camp where it was Rodrygo would never leave Real Madrid. Why would Rodrygo possibly leave Real Madrid? It's never going to happen. And now that it's beginning to seem like he is going to leave Real Madrid, then it becomes, well, if he does leave Real Madrid, he'd never go to Arsenal. If he does go, he'll go to Bayern Munich. He'll go to Bayern Munich. And then as it starts coming out, oh, actually, Arsenal could be interested here. Maybe Arsenal have got a chance. Then it will become, well, if Real Madrid want to let him go, then he's probably rubbish anyway. So literally, why are you signing Rodrygo? Because he's going to be rubbish. That's why Real Madrid don't want him. So there's not going to be an outcome that pleases people. But I do think it could happen. Guys don't understand. We're a big club. Exactly. The price tag is such a fair price. We need to send a bid ASAP. Yeah, so look, this is what we're hearing. AMZ, I appreciate that. Thank you very much. This is what we are hearing. Now, this has come this afternoon from Pacojo Ser, which is part of the Cadena Ser kind of outlet. And Cadena Ser, excuse me, I nearly died. Cadena Ser were the ones that originally, like way back in May, towards the end of May, they were the ones that said that Rodrygo's agent had started reaching out, that he had spoken to Arsenal, and that Rodrygo may want to leave Real Madrid this summer. So they've been on it. That was over a month ago. And they are saying this. Real Madrid have put a price on Rodrygo. 90 million euros will be used, which will be used to sign the midfielder requested by Xabi Alonso. Arsenal is a real option. So 90 million euros, that's 77 million pounds. That seems fair. To me, that seems reasonable. 77 million quid. We were willing to spend that on Mykhailo Mudryk. You know, let's be real here. We were willing to spend 80 million quid on Mykhailo Mudryk. So we should be willing to spend 77 million on Rodrygo. Now, obviously, one big difference between Mudryk and Rodrygo will be the wages that Rodrygo will want as well. But obviously, the other big difference is the difference in quality. So I think that is completely reasonable. And if you can do Rodrygo for 77 million, Sesko for, call it 73 million, 150 million on two of your front three to go alongside Saka, I really don't think that is bad at all. I don't think it's bad at all. He wants 350k. Supposedly, I don't think we know exactly what he wants. I think it'll be closer to 300k. 300k is doable, I would say. He wants 200k a week. Well, I don't think we know. I don't think we know what Rodrygo will want in terms of a wage. I think there have been guesses and stuff. But either way, I also just don't see who should be competing with us for this. Like, realistically, financially, I don't really buy, unless it was Man City, I don't buy that anyone should be able to just blow us away financially for Rodrygo. And no one else really can offer kind of a guaranteed starting spot on the left wing in a team that is going to compete for major trophies next season. Maybe Bayern Munich could offer that. They are the only other team that are actively looking for a left winger. So I really do think we should be going for it. I really think Arsenal should be pushing this. And for me, if you could get it done, I would consider that a more significant and important signing than the striker. I really would. So hopefully we do it. Pay Rodrygo whatever he wants. We cannot miss out. The fact that we're not making a bullish move towards any of our leading targets is reason for concern. Seems like the ownership are trying to avoid spending a lot this window. I know it's early. There's two ways of looking at it. The other way of looking at it could be that we are waiting perhaps on Rodrygo. That if Rodrygo is genuinely going to become available, then that's something that we end up going for. Now, a little bit more from Kudus there in terms of the interest that we have. They said Arsenal is the name that has been popping up in the English press all week. The Athletic confirmed the Gunners' interest, and sources close to the English club assure Ser that it is true, that it is a real possibility. Although Rodrygo is currently in a rather difficult emotional and footballing situation, they are considering signing the Brazilian this year. Although it's a complicated and lengthy transaction, one that will take place in August, not July. And that is one thing I think people have to be prepared for, right? If Real Madrid go a long way in the Club World Cup, Rodrygo is going to be at that tournament and therefore pretty much untouchable until the middle of July. After that, he is then going to have to go on holiday. And so if it is a deal that's going to happen, I do think it would end up happening in August, which would obviously then become a little bit worrying because once you get into August, you know, the season is going to be starting. And if you've not got it done, you know, it's one of those where suddenly you're working on a big deal. And if it doesn't happen, you're heading towards deadline day again. And if we're heading towards deadline day without signing a left winger, it would, you know, people would start panicking. Let's be real. They would start panicking. So it's going to be a difficult one. I think we're going to have to hold our nerve a little bit as fans when it comes to doing it. But it is a possibility. And when it comes to Rodrygo leaving, you know, when it Pocojo Sarah saying it's a £77 million price tag, if he was to leave. So that if is the big if. Is he going to leave this summer? And I really do think he is. You know, we were told that he was going to have a conversation with Real Madrid, with Xabi Alonso before the Club World Cup. You know, they were meeting up for the start of the Club World Cup, and Rodrygo was going to sit down with Xabi Alonso, and they were going to discuss his future. Well, we're 2 games in to the Club World Cup now, or Real Madrid are 2 games into the Club World Cup. Kylian Mbappe has not been available for either game. So even without Kylian Mbappe, Rodrygo in the first game played 65 minutes off the right wing and then got substituted. And in the second game yesterday, Arda Güler started off the right. They've been starting this Garcia guy as the striker. Vinny Jr. has been starting off the left. And by the way, Vinny Jr. isn't even playing that well, but he is still starting off the left. And yesterday, Rodrygo didn't get a minute. He didn't come on. And Marca reported this. A scene reopened the Rodrygo case yesterday, which now has even more fronts to contend with. Arda Güler's explosion, the impending arrival of Mastantuono, the change in formation. The player did not even warm up in the second half. Xabi Alonso didn't even send him to go and warm up in the second half. And so I just don't see a player of his ability sticking around in a place where, you know, he's not that highly regarded. And from Real Madrid's perspective, they're not going to let a player that they could sell for 77 million quid sit on the bench if he's not going to be used. And we're hearing, you know, Arda Güler, Xabi Alonso seemingly really likes, and Arda Güler has come out and said he had a really, really good conversation with Xabi Alonso about his future. I think they're about to tie Brahim Diaz to a new contract, and they're bringing in Mastantuono. So I just think this is one of those opportunities that you have to try and take. Rodrygo already went on holiday before the Club World Cup as he didn't play in the internationals and missed the last 2 games of domestic games for Madrid. That is true. That could help. I still think that they'd let him go on a small holiday, personally. But no worries, Nid. I will be watching the test match later on as well, or the highlights anyway. I appreciate you being here. Rodrygo coming to North London, hopefully. What are the percentage chances at the moment that we sign Rodrygo, given what we know? I would say, what are the percentage chances we sign Rodrygo? I would say 60% chance that we do it. 60% chance we do it, I reckon. Because I'm certain he leaves. Even before the Club World Cup and all of this stuff was coming out, you remember I made a video a couple of months ago now about alternative options for Arsenal. Even then, I felt like Rodrygo could leave this summer, and everything that has happened since then has pointed in that direction. So I think it's really, really likely, like 90% chance he leaves Real Madrid this summer. So then it's about, if he does leave, does he end up at Arsenal? And I think there's just not that much competition for him. I really think it would be a strange one for for Man City to spend their money on, given that they've got Marmoush and a lot of wingers. I think for Liverpool, it would be an interesting one because of the signing of Florian Wirtz, who I think is going to spend quite a long time or quite a lot of minutes playing off the left. Chelsea, I think it would explode their wage structure, which they don't want to do. It really would be a head-to-head between us and Bayern Munich, I think. So we'll wait and see. What's happening with Kepa? Heard that Galatasaray are interested. I'm not sure. The last I heard was still that he was Arsenal bound. Why is this happening with Rodrygo and Madrid? Was there a falling out or something? Well, fundamentally, Rodrygo is a left winger, right? And for years, pretty much his entire career at Real Madrid, he's played off the right because they had Vinny Jr. playing off the left. And he's accepted that and he's done the job. But he's always wanted to play off the left. And because Vinny Jr. does the same for Brazil as well, he gets no opportunity to play off the left. So that was the first thing that was frustrating him. There were then reports as well that he felt like he was almost kind of underappreciated relative to some of the other Madrid stars. And ultimately now it also seems like Alonso may want to change the formation slightly and that it's not going to suit him. You know, yesterday they played with Arda Güler and Valverde kind of combining on the right-hand side. So, yeah, it just feels like it's run its course. And you know, he's at that point where he's 24. He's won everything with Real Madrid as it is. So he doesn't need to move to try and win something he's not won before. But he has the opportunity to go from being kind of a part of an incredible team where he wasn't the main guy to potentially going to an Arsenal and being the guy, you know, playing off the left where he believes he is at his best, and he is at his best off the left, and really being loved a little bit more, I think. Would you pay him more than Saka? No, I wouldn't. What's the latest on our striker search? Can we just get the deal done for Gyokeres? He will murder defenders. We'll talk about Gyokeres and Sesko in a second. I just wondered if there was something more than just not being a left winger. I don't think so. I think it fundamentally is that. I think it's more the fact that, like, he's not even given the chance. Like, even now, without Mbappe, they've just found a way to still not play him off the left or even up top. I think that's what is frustrating him the most. We must absolutely sign Rodrygo, but we cannot move backwards and allow Nelly to leave. We still need his contributions on counter and defensive qualities. Perhaps, but if you've got to sell Martinelli to raise funds for Rodrygo, I could kind of see it happening. That was obviously yesterday we heard from Christian Falk that Bayern Munich are looking into Martinelli. Now, Bayern Munich are looking into every left winger on the planet, so it makes sense that they've been linked to him. But I do think it's one of those, like, if you were to bring in a Rodrygo and keep Martinelli, and Rodrygo was capable of playing the majority of games next season, Martinelli's value is just going to plummet, and you could sell him for a lot right now. So it is a tricky one. because we're not looking to renew his contract, supposedly. He's only got 2 years left. He's in the same position as Saliba, Gabriel, Saka, but we've not opened conversations about a new deal. So if we left it a year, like you'd be in a position where he's then got a year left on his deal. He's not really been playing much. I think his value would collapse a bit like Ramsdale's did, and he is on 200 grand a week, which is a lot for a player that then becomes a bench player. So I don't know. We'll wait and see. But if we had to sell Martinelli to fund Rodrygo, I would do that. The other option is you sell Trossard, but that's a far more difficult player to sell. He has 3 years left, has the option to extend. I don't know if he does or not. Maybe. Just realized only 77 people have liked and there's 501 people. Yeah, there's over 500 of you here. So if you could like and subscribe, please subscribe. We've hit 19,000, by the way. Unbelievable. We've hit 19,000 subscribers. That's Leandro Trossard's number ticked off. In a dream world, we'd be on the way to J20, Jorginho 20,000, but he's no longer here. And Zubimendi's not going to take his numbers. Zubimendi's taking number 36. So there is no number 20 at Arsenal as it stands. But if we could get to 20,000 subscribers, I would be massively grateful. So do subscribe if you're not already. On to Victor Gyokeres and Benjamin Sesko. And I'll be honest with you, right? I'm genuinely getting sick of it. I'm at the point now where if it's not Mockbell, Ornstein, or Hand of Arsenal, I just don't really care about it anymore. The stuff that's coming out today, this came from Abolapt, which is a Portuguese outlet, Abola maybe they're called. Gyokeres may now be closer to Arsenal. Sesko's demands are creating difficulties for the Gunners, and the most probable player to join Arsenal is now Victor Gyokeres. The Mirror reporting that now Benjamin Sesko wants way higher wages than Victor Gyokeres, even though 2 weeks ago it was the opposite, and Victor Gyokeres was the one that wanted the higher wages. Journal Noticias, Arsenal are preparing a new offer to sign Victor Gyokeres from Sporting. Bear in mind, like these Portuguese outlets previously were all claiming that we'd already made one bid and that we were ready to make a second bid for Victor Gyokeres. Now they're back to saying that we might make the first bid. Duncan Castles has said Gyokeres is considering not attending pre-season training to express his dissatisfaction with Sporting Lisbon management. Now, here's the funny thing with Duncan Castles, right? He is known or has a reputation for working with George Mendes. George Mendes is now on the case to sell Victor Gyokeres. He has been bought in, super agent. Suddenly, Duncan Castles, he was the one that the other day was also saying that Benjamin Sesko wants a release clause in any deal with Arsenal. And now he's saying this about Gyokeres. So Duncan Castles, I checked, we have not mentioned Duncan Castles once at any point in the last however long. Like we've never referenced him as a journalist that has been talking about Sesko and Gyokeres. And now suddenly George Mendes is on the case. And Duncan Castles has got inside information from both camps. He's inside the Sesko camp and he's inside the Gyokeres camp. Like, it's nonsense. It is absolute media manipulation. I don't really know the benefit of saying that Sesko is demanding way higher wages and a release clause. Like, unless it is literally just to cause a rift between Arsenal fans and Sesko, which is kind of working. Because I'm seeing Arsenal fans coming out just taking it as gospel that Sesko wants a release clause in his deal, and now you've got Arsenal fans saying, "Oh, Gyokeres really wants to join us, and Sesko doesn't." So it's all nonsense. And Fabrizio Romano actually said this. Fabrizio Romano on rumours of Sesko's wage demands being too high. No, Arsenal aren't backing out of a deal for Sesko. Sesko and Gyokeres are both still in contact. Let's see what Arsenal decide. So Fabrizio has rubbished it, and we've heard nothing from Mockbell, nothing from Ornstein, and nothing from Hand of Arsenal. So, yeah, I just think ultimately it's all a load of nonsense. It needs to happen within the next 2 weeks, in my opinion. By the end of next week, I think this situation needs to be resolved. It can't start dragging into pre-season. I think that would be really poor. But for now, we still hold the cards. And this is the thing, like, Leipzig desperately want to sell Sesko, but they also want to milk as much money for it as they can. Same with Sporting Lisbon. And both of their agents are both trying to milk their wages for as much as they can. But Arsenal are the one that hold the cards right now. Because as it stands, no one else is coming in and offering what we're offering. No one's going over us. And both of the clubs, one of them is going to be left, holding their penis. So I don't think there's a rush right now. I do think it's a game of poker. And I think Andrea Berta is the kind of guy that will hold his nerve. I think he will hold his nerve. So, yeah, I'm not worried about it just yet. Any news on when Zubimendi will be announced? I've seen a few things saying that Zubimendi will be announced at the start of July, just because the Sociedad want the deal to go through in July. So I think a lot of it might have already been done, though. I think the medical and stuff, possibly even the media stuff, might have already been done. Zubimendi could possibly go back on holiday, and then it'll be announced at the start of July. Feels like Mendes doing. Arsenal have all the cards. No other clubs are in. Exactly. Where has the whole Duncan Castles is George Mendes mouthpiece come from? Is there any evidence of this, or is everyone just repeating it because someone said it on Twitter? I saw someone say it on Twitter. I'm not going to lie to you. I saw someone say it on Twitter, but I mean, the fact is this: Duncan Castles was not talking about Gyokeres and Sesko. I have every single show that we do, I put everything into a Word document with the journalist and the information. This Word document is now 35,000 words long from when we've been doing it. Duncan Castles has not spoken about Gyokeres or Sesko until literally the last week. And within the last week, he's giving inside information on both Sesko and Gyokeres. Like, it just doesn't add up that he would suddenly have all of this information. It's just a move. It's just to move other teams like it's Juve or Saudi to come in for Gyokeres to speed Arsenal up. Yeah, maybe. But Arsenal just aren't in a rush. Is Partey leaving? If yes, who is replacing him? Yeah, we can move on to that. So, according to Bucci Laba, who is an African, he works for the Republicans thing. He said, as it stands, there is a 90% chance that Thomas Partey leaves. Face-to-face talks with Mikel this week. Both want to continue, but Arsenal will not raise their offer. Someone has to compromise. Offer not rejected, but also not signed. One Turkish club will be willing to pay Partey what he wants. So basically, Thomas Partey's camp, and this has been reported by multiple people now, Thomas Partey's camp want him to get a pay rise. That's insane. Like, you're not giving a 32-year-old a pay rise. Simple as that. And especially a 32-year-old who, up until last season, his contract season, had significant injury problems. So he's not going to get a pay rise. And if that means that he leaves the club, then so be it. I have no sympathy for him wanting a pay rise. If he wants to leave and go to Turkey because they can offer him that, then be my guest. And I do think that there are options on the market that we could dip in to replace him. One of them is Lucien Agume. Interestingly, Lucien Agume, who has some really good stats. I've not watched a huge amount of him. He's physically excellent, but also his passing stats from deep line-breaking balls. Really, really good numbers on that. So could be someone that replaces him. Still young. I think he's like 22. I think I saw a thing from like years and years ago where we were linked to him when we were getting the Saliba deal done. I'm not sure if he even still has the same agents, but back then he had the same agents as William Saliba. And there was talk that we might get him. So, there you go. He does still share the same agent as Saliba. So that could be one that we do. The other option, of course, I still think is if you bring in Jorel Hato, Miles Lewis-Skelly becomes a midfielder next season. That is the other option, which I also think is a good option. So, like Thomas Partey is not 100% necessary for us to keep if he's going to demand a pay rise. I just don't think he is. Partey demanding more money. I'm sorry, but given his injuries and also the non-footy stuff, Arsenal supported him. He should be more grateful, in my opinion. If not, bye-bye. Yeah, I don't disagree. Well, should we do a greenery check on Agume? Let's do a greenery check on Agume. Why not? There's not a huge amount. Actually, there is some more news that we need to get into, but let's do a little greenery check on Agume. 2 segundos, por favor. Let me do this. Let me do this. Let me do this. And let me do this. There we go. So here we go. Let me also get rid of that. This is Lucien Agume. So he's 23 years old, right-footed, 185 centimeters. What's that? That's over 6 foot, right? 185 centimeters. Over 6 foot. 24 starts in La Liga last season for Sevilla. 1 goal, 3 assists. But when it comes to the greenery, let's go back to La Liga last season for the greenery. Per 90. Successful passes, pass accuracy. Dribble success. That's decent. Chance creation's all right. Other than that, I mean, this is decent. I mean, the greenery check has not passed. Aerial duels 1. Interceptions. I mean, look, it's you know, the greenery check doesn't always paint the full picture. So there are people that I trust, particularly like George from the Cannon podcast. Yeah, I think George from the Cannon podcast is a big fan of Agume. Ben Mattinson's a big fan of Agume. So there are people that I trust that assure me that Agume is a good player. He perhaps just doesn't pass the greenery check. Over 2,000 minutes played is good. Shows he's been injury-free all season. Yeah, presumably. If you had to put money on who we sign between Sesko and Gyokeres, who would you choose? I still think it'll be Sesko. I still have the feeling that we're going to get Benjamin Sesko. That is what I think. Sevilla didn't have a good season as well. Yeah. Put him into a better team. The only thing with Agume would be, it would probably take him a while to get up to speed. So if you were going to bring him in, you'd be relying... This is the only issue I have, actually, with losing Thomas Partey in the same window that you lose Jorginho. You've got Zubimendi coming in, who we hope will be fantastic, but there are no guarantees. And then if you're bringing in another one to replace Thomas Partey, that's going to be 2 of them that have to get up to speed, and that could be a bit difficult. But Josh Tongue, 3 wickets in 1 over. You'll love to see it. You'll love to see it. Theo Hernandez is potentially off to Saudi, could open the door to Zenchenko to AC Milan. Yeah, that's actually one of the other bits that I was going to talk about. So this came from Core Sport today. Milan's sporting director, Iglitare, is that how you pronounce it? Held talks with Zinchenko's representatives. Milan valued the player and may conclude a deal worth less than 20 million euros. Now, that's poor. Like 15 million quid is poor. The only obstacle is Zinchenko's high salary, but he is seriously considering reducing his salary. So it is something that could happen. Zinchenko's going to have to reduce his salary. I think 15 million quid for Zenchenko is not great. Like, I'm seeing Kwanzaa for 35 million, and we can't get more than 15 for Zenchenko. Like, I don't think that's great, but it's kind of the reality of the injuries that Zenchenko has had and the fact that we've really not used him that much over the last couple of seasons. Yeah, 15 million quid. Not great. I wonder if Palmer will bid for Zenchenko. I don't know. Zinni's a good player, better than Kwanzaa. Yeah, I mean, look, age is one of the factors, obviously. Zinchenko's like 28 or whatever, but it's his wages and injuries. Yeah, I think his consistent calf injuries are a problem. I do still worry that we're not great at selling. I do still worry that we're not great at selling, to be honest with you. I only expected 18 mil max for Zenchenko, and he's in his final 12 months soon. Yeah, that is what it is. It is what it is. It's frustrating, but there's not a lot you can do. Zinni will cook in Serie A as a 10. Yeah, it wouldn't surprise me if it ended up in midfield. Like, it would be a weird... Like, stylistically, it would be a weird change for Milan to go from Theo Hernandez to Zinchenko. Like that, they are 2 incredibly different left backs. But we'll wait and see. Another bit of news today that was interesting. This came from Rahman Osman. Mohamed Kudus has signed with renowned sports management firm Roof, as speculation over a potential move away from West Ham United continues to gather pace. Chelsea and Arsenal have both held exploratory talks to sign the Ghanaian. So sounds like he may be looking for a move. You know, you typically do change your agency when you're trying to get a move, and Arsenal have held talks. So, I mean, that would be an interesting one because I mean, I don't think West Ham can hold out for the buy clause. I think his release clause is like 80 million. That's just too much in this market. But if we were to get Kudus, you'd assume that would have to be instead of Rodrygo. Like you're not doing Kudus and a striker and Rodrygo. Would I rather Rodrygo? Yeah. I think I love Kudus, and we spoke about him a lot on this channel before he went to West Ham. But I would prefer Rodrygo, to be honest with you. I like the versatility of Kudus, but Rodrygo has that too. And I think Rodrygo's all-round game, particularly the efficiency that he has in the final third, I think Rodrygo is the better player. And the experience that he has at the absolute top level. Why aren't we in for Osimhen? He's loads better than both Sesko and Gyokeres. The Victor Osimhen situation is just a mess. Like, Victor Osimhen is clearly a very talented striker. The fee that Napoli are supposedly looking for Victor Osimhen is not a bad fee whatsoever. So none of the clubs that are looking for a striker, be it Arsenal, Liverpool, Chelsea, whoever else you think is looking for a striker, like none of them are not doing it because of Osimhen's ability. None of them are not doing it because of the fee that Napoli want. And yet, none of them are doing it because his agent and this just constant flip-flopping and trying to get... Basically, they want like Saudi-level money if they stay in Europe, which they're not going to get. But then if they go to Saudi, they want more than Saudi-level money. Like, he was offered an absurd amount to go to Saudi, and he wanted even more than that. It's like, you know, you're either going to have to commit to staying in Europe and not getting as much money as you want, or go to Saudi and get a lot of money, but you're in Saudi. You know, it's a mess. It's a mess. And I think, you know, for a while I was blaming it on his agent. And, you know, what happened last summer, I felt like that was his agent, and his agent basically overcommitted and thought that he could get away with something, and it didn't work. But now I'm like, Osimhen has had long enough to move on from his current agent if he believes his current agent is the problem. And he's not doing it. So, you know, how does bro out-demand Saudi? Yeah, do you know how crazy you've got to be to turn down Saudi money because you want more? It's nuts. Don't you think that it's too good to be true? Munich has to be in the Rodrygo mix. Yeah, Munich will be. Bayern will be in the Rodrygo mix. Bayern were in the Declan Rice mix. Bayern were in the Kai Havertz mix. Bayern are in mixes all the time. Bayern aren't that good. Bayern were in the Florian Wirtz mix. You know, but it's not that difficult to beat Bayern Munich in the transfer market, to be honest with you. Has anyone you can think of gone to Saudi, got the bag, come back to Europe, and banged? No, I don't think so. Jordan Henderson went to Saudi, tried to get the bag, ended up actually losing money. And I don't... Well, he's not banged since he came back. Has anyone else even done it? Gabri Vega? Is he banged, though, since he came back? I don't know. I don't think anyone has. I think it's difficult. Yeah, I think it's difficult. Any news on Bakayoko? Nothing really. There's been a couple more reports that... Well, there was one report yesterday that a Premier League club has approached PSV for Bakayoko, but it didn't name the club. So maybe that was Arsenal, maybe it wasn't. I reckon Duran will bang once back. Yeah, listen, John Duran could come back and bang. I still think Ivan Toney could come back and bang. There are players out there that could do it if they wanted to, but do you think Hato happens? Personally, I think we do. Yeah, I'm actually going to make a video. There's probably going to be a video tomorrow on Jordan Hato and why I think we should do it. But The issue is priorities. This is the one thing where I would say right now we're not behind Liverpool in the sense that players are on holiday, right? We're not losing ground. They haven't got Florian Wirtz and Jeremy Frimpong and Gyokeres training with Arne Slot, so we're not losing ground there. But I do feel like the longer we fail to get any of our signings done, obviously Zubimendi, fair enough, done that. The longer we fail to get Sesko or Gyokeres and then the left winger, the harder it is to do a Hato, I feel like, because if you commit, 50 million to Hato now, and then later in the window you're like, oh crap, we needed that. I think it could end up being a problem, but I'm probably the only person who thinks Hato should remain at Ajax for another 2 years. Really follow that Timber pathway. Possibly, but I think he's a little bit ahead. For his age, he's ahead of even where Gideon Timber was at that point. He's already done a fair bit. Follow on Twitch. Yeah, follow everywhere. Oh, by the way, if you do want to join the Discord, I always say this. If you want to join the Discord, the link is down in the description to the Discord. As the Discord gets busier, you can just drop in and out and have a chat about Arsenal, basically. So feel free to go and join it. And obviously, you also get notifications whenever I'm going live or whenever there's a new video or anything like that. Who's more realistic, Kudus or Rodgers? Probably Kudus. I think Kudus is far more likely to be sold by West Ham. Rodgers would cost a huge amount. Do you think Fabio Vieira's gone? It seems like we want to sell, but I don't know. Yeah, do you know what? I've seen little bits of Fabio Vieira at the Club World Cup where people are like, oh, he could still do something for Arsenal. But fundamentally, what I'm still seeing from him is exactly what I saw at Arsenal. Like, I've not seen anything from Fabio Vieira at Porto where I'm like, his game has developed. He's worked on something that he didn't have at Arsenal that he'll be able to implement if he comes back. That's what I'm not seeing. His final ball at times, sensational. I think he nutmegged Messi. Brilliant. He nutmegged Messi and then kicked the ball straight out of play. For me, he would be a relatively handy player to possibly have if we ended up needing him. Give the minutes to Waneri and Dalman, to be honest with you. He's been bad and Porto is shit. There you go. Tielemans as a Partey replacement, if the price is right. Yeah, I'd love Tielemans. I said this. He was one of the alternative signings on that video I made. Because I could definitely see Villa selling him because they got him on a free. So whatever they sell him for is pure profit. So I could see that happening. Junior Films, good to see you. Sesko update on AFC stuff on Twitter. Let's have a gander. What's the update on Benjamin Sesko? I think it's going to be a busy week. Okay, this is coming from Miguel Delaney. There is still a €10 million gap between Arsenal and RB Leipzig on Benjamin Sesko. That has nevertheless developed into a game of chicken as the two clubs seek to get the best possible deal. Arsenal have been seeking to do a deal on installments that comes to around €70 million. By the way, if we can get Sesko for €70 million, that's like 60 million quid. That is really, and on installments. Like, that is really good. And this is what I'm saying. I mean, Miguel Delaney has said it himself. We're in a game of chicken. And I think Andrea Berta will win the game of chicken. Leipzig have to sell. They have to. They're not in Europe next season. So, keep playing the game. Villa got Tielemans on a free. It's criminal how we didn't sign him. I know. Him and Douglas Luiz, to be honest, we should have done better with. But there you go. I'd love Douglas Luiz as a Partey replacement. Yeah, but I don't know what's happened to him since he went to Juventus. Didn't he just have an awful year in Italy? I'm not really sure. We're doing this because we are broke. Our wage structure. We're not broke at all. But it's like it's just the sensible thing to do. It's like if you have £1 million, you're a rich person, right? If you've got £1 million. If you decide to buy a house, buying it outright for £1 million and using your entire £1 million to buy it, it's just not the sensible way to do it. You're still better off getting a mortgage. So paying in installments for as low a price as we possibly can, it's just good business. It doesn't mean we're broke. Anybody remember when we were told to be patient last summer? Then again in January, here we are again. This is a pattern for Arsenal, unambitious and complacent. Well, I will disagree with you if in a month's time we haven't signed anyone. Then I'll agree with you. For now, I think we are being ambitious. If we are going for Benjamin Sesko and we are going for Rodrygo, that's ambitious. We just have to pull it off. Is Ademola Lookman still an option for Arsenal? Could be. Ademola Lookman could end up being an option still for Arsenal. That's the thing, though. That's where it's going to be interesting with the left winger. I think that's where it's going to be interesting with the left winger. Because we wait on Rodrygo, but then you're going to have to pivot. If you can't pull Rodrygo off, you're going to have to pivot quickly. So there you go. Could Arsenal be lining up all targets and then pursuing July, new financial year, Kepa, Zubi, Sesko? Yeah, well, Zubamendi's definitely going to happen in the new financial year. I actually think in an ideal world, we might want to get Sesko done now. I feel like we've got the capacity to add another one to this year. Because what you don't want to do is go and spend, let's say we end up doing, argument's sake, Zubamendi, Sesko, Rodrygo. Even if it's just those three, that is 200 million quid. In an ideal world, you don't want all of that to be lumped onto one financial year, because then you're stuck with that year for the next 3 years until it drops off again. Apart from Rodrygo and Rodgers, there's no other left winger who is really a higher level than Nelly. Not necessarily a guaranteed higher level than Nelly. Yeah, I don't disagree. I mean, I felt like Nico Williams would have been. Another AFC stuff update? Guys, going ham. What's the other update? Arsenal have been speaking to Chelsea about a potential move for Noni Madueke. Chelsea want 50 million for the player, which is not a price that Arsenal want to go to right now. There is a possibility a deal may be revived later in the summer. Yeah, I mean, 50 million for Madueke is an absolute piss take. So, no, thank you. I've only just joined. Could you do a quick recap? Charlie, you'll be better off just going back to the start, unfortunately, just for the people that are still here. To be fair, it's actually nearly the end of the show. We are just going to do the quiz. But before we do that, if I could just ask you, there's 650 of you here. Please do like the stream, subscribe if you're not already, and feel free to check out the links in the description if you want to go and join the Discord or follow me on any other platform. Right, here we go. Ooh, what should we go for? I like this one. Okay, fingers on keyboards. First person to get this right wins the immense pride and respect of the Rory Talks Football community. Now, I'm not going to give out the multiple choice answers until the first person's got it right. Then I'll give you the multiple choice. Lauren was the first signing for Arsenal in 2000. But what club did he join from? Lauren was the first signing for Arsenal in 2000. But what club did he join from? There we go. Right, I've seen a correct answer. So the multiple choice options are Mallorca, Real Sociedad, or Atletico Bilbao. I love people spamming random answers to what it could be. Look at there's people spam 2004, Tony Adams, Henry, Monreal, David O'Leary. But the first person to get it, he's back. He's back on top. It's VV Vlad, the goat of Guess the Gooner in time gone by. It is indeed Mallorca. Second was Ethan Udall. Third was Nid. Fourth was Mr. Mister. And fifth was Leeds Gunner. But there you go. It was indeed Mallorca that Lauren joined Arsenal from. So congratulations to VV Vlad. I've joined too late. Rewatch it is. Yeah, feel free to go watch from the start. But look, that is going to be the end of the stream. I massively appreciate you all for joining. There may be a live stream tomorrow if there is some breaking news to talk about. If not, there's going to be a video about Joral Hato and why I think we need to sign him. But other than that, I hope you all have an absolutely fantastic evening. Please do subscribe, like, all of that good stuff. And other than that, I will catch you all on the next one. Until then, goodbye.